Hello, my good friends. Can I just say, you look and probably smell really excellent today. At least I'm assuming, because, to be honest with you, I don't really want to actually smell you. Like, nose to you, smell you. There's nothing against you. Like, I'm sure you smell fine. I just, I don't really want to smell anybody. Anyway. So Nintendo recently had an investor call, which I assume is when they wanted to have a meeting with their investors, but they couldn't get out of their houses because their doors were blocked by roof-high piles of Switch money, so they made it a call instead. And there were a few little news tidbits in there. We got confirmation about the Mario movie, so that's fun, kinda. And then they announced that Nintendo Switch Online would be coming in September. But the announcement I want to talk about right now is the one for Mario Kart Tour. That's right, Mario Kart is next in line to get the mobile treatment. We know nothing about the game beyond a few scant details, but hey, this is a gaming channel. Knowing nothing won't stop us from talking about it for hours and hours. So please, sit your probably good-smelling self down and let's talk about playing Mario Kart on your phone. First, I know it's probably been obvious for a while now, but for some reason out of all of Nintendo's mobile game announcements, this one made me really realize that no series is immune to going mobile, you know what I mean? Something about the announcement of Mario Kart Tour made me go, oh wow, they're really just working their way down the list, aren't they? Like it's only a matter of time before there's a mobile version of every one of Nintendo's big series. They obviously want to represent everything they've got. And hey, that's a really good idea. The mobile market is, and probably will always be, the largest gaming market on the planet. I mean, a game company like Nintendo is over the moon when they can sell 100 million units of their console, but phones? How about billions of owners? How's that for an install base? Billions. So getting every single Nintendo property onto app stores is naturally the smartest thing to do. They can potentially reach new audiences and draw them to Nintendo's dedicated consoles, or barring that, they can at the very least just make some money on their own. Even a cheap little minigame can make Mario and Pokemon amounts of money, just millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars if packaged the right way and advertised to the right people. So industry veterans like Nintendo should certainly capitalize on their expertise in the realm of simple fun. I mean, look at the DS. Nintendo was basically making mobile games before mobile games were a thing. They're pros at this kind of stuff. The biggest question about Mario Kart Tour, though, is what kind of game is it going to be? Obviously, there are a lot of ways Nintendo could do it, and maybe they'll just completely surprise us, but the way I see it, there are two likely possibilities. The first is, of course, the game is a racing game. It's not as fully fledged as other Mario Karts, and maybe controlling your kart is simplified in some way. Gyroscope steering or virtual joysticks are options, but it could also drive for you automatically, and you're in charge of picking which turns you want to take and using items, stuff like that. Whatever the case, it's still racing, still based on speed and reaction time. It's about getting to the finish line first. The second option is something with less focus on the racing and more focus on other stuff. Maybe you manage a garage and you spend lots of time managing characters and building carts. Like, they could really dig deep into the technical aspect, and the game could be about earning new gear to use and leveling up RPG style to increase your chances of success in a race. No matter what, I'm sure there will be racing involved, but in this case I could see it being fairly hands-off. Like, the real game is in the managing, and when you run races, maybe there's some little mini game you play while you watch, or you collect coins as you go or something. Realistically, the final game is probably going to be closer to the former, an actual racing game. I would personally try to do something different with it for a few reasons, some of which I'll talk about later. Largely, I just feel like action games like that aren't particularly engaging on mobile devices. There's just a lot of games that are like that, but I don't know. I know there are lots of people out there that like their endless runners and stuff like that, and Nintendo's other mobile games so far have, for the most part, been simplified versions of their games. Nothing incredibly fancy or different. Super Mario Run was a 2D Mario game, only Mario runs on his own and you just have to tap the screen to jump. It's essentially the same game, just simplified. Fire Emblem Heroes, from what I can tell, same thing. It's turn-based strategy, just made smaller and simpler so you can easily play on your phone. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, instead of a town, you've just got a camp, but it's still all about getting furniture and stuff. Pokemon Go is something of an exception. It's still about catching Pokemon and stuff, but it's a really different experience than the main games. But Nintendo has a lot less to do with that game than with their others. It's mostly a Pokemon Company and Niantic thing, so it doesn't really fit with the same theme of taking a series and boiling it down to something easier for folks to play on their phones. So yeah, at this point, I'm willing to bet that there will be actual karting and racing involved in Mario Kart Tour. Stuff that takes reflexes. It's like, you gotta be good enough at the game to get to the finish or something like that. Most likely, you'll be racing people online, or possibly going through obstacle courses, or some mix of both. Though I wouldn't be surprised if it at least some of that other non-racing stuff I was talking about made it in. Pure racing would be kind of fun, but having some sort of management system and putting more emphasis on choosing parts and all that would very much fit a mobile experience. But again, we'll talk about that more in a bit. So let's talk about price. Nintendo said Mario Kart Tour would be free to start, just like Super Mario Run was. That basically means this is a demo. You have access to a little bit of the game, but in order to get the whole experience, you have to buy it, and it's usually split up into multiple level packs or something similar. This is, of course, very different from free-to-play games like Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, where you've got access to the whole game. There are just items and features that are really hard to unlock without paying real-world money, or they take an extra long amount of time. The thing about being free to start, though, is that didn't really work incredibly well for Super Mario Run. I'll admit I never really dug into the game. I just didn't think it was very fun. Just not my cup of tea. But when I tried it, it did not seem like a good value. Like, it didn't feel that way. Even if I had liked the game, it wouldn't have seemed like a good value. There were just not enough levels, considering the thing cost $10. I've seen countless games on the App Store of the same quality, mind you, not crummy little no-budget flash games, nice games that offered way more content for only a few bucks, $2 or $3 tops. Even free-to-play games that want nothing more than to just frustrate and inconvenience you into paying money to move forward are more generous with their content than Super Mario Run. I think the biggest problem is that the game can take a good number of hours to complete, but only if you want to collect everything. You want to get all the coins or whatever. If you just want to beat the levels, you burn through it in no time. And hey, maybe you think I'm wrong, maybe you love the game, but I can't be alone. This was the first time Mario had ever graced a smart device, and people downloaded it in droves. They just about broke records with those day one numbers. Yet it still underperformed money-wise. There just weren't enough people who thought it looked like a good deal and wanted to shell out $10 for all the levels. And there was so little free content that the game didn't have the time to hook people like it should have. It was way too easy for me to be like, oh, I'm at the end of the free stuff already after like 2 minutes? Alright, I'll just delete it. So if Nintendo is returning to this payment model, they have to rethink what they charge and the kind of content they offer. If they're giving us levels to beat Super Mario Run style, they've got to offer enough of them. If you can race against people on 1 or 2 tracks, but you have to pay to unlock more tracks and modes, that base game needs to be meaty enough to hook you and incentivize you to pay that extra money. And mostly, they just need to not charge too much. They've got to look at other games and see what they're charging for similar content. Call it a race to the bottom, call it cheapening Nintendo's art, but them's the breaks, man. If they want to make money with this mobile game, they've got about 6 trillion million other mobile games to compete with. I will note that it'll be easier for them to charge more if the game's content really is split up in such a way that it can be enjoyed individually. Say you've got regular races, challenge mode, party mode, track packs, and a bunch of premium kart parts, and you have to buy them all separately. That's an easier sell. If you only want a few of the modes, you can only buy a few. If the complete package is $10, that price is easier to swallow for the people who have really gotten into the game, because they've used that other content that was either free or only a couple bucks to really invest themselves, and suddenly they're like, oh right, yeah, $10 for the whole thing, totally. Either way, whether you spend a few bucks or 10 or even 20, Nintendo makes at least some money. But with Super Mario Run, $10 got you the game. No one's gonna buy just a few of the levels. You either have all of them or you don't have the whole game. The vast majority of people paid either $10 or $0. That's just not how you price a mobile game. That's how you price an eShop game. So yeah, selling features and maybe even level packs too, rather than just the levels, but split up into packs and that's it, should work out better for them. They've got to make it more than a glorified demo. We've got to be able to really get into the game and get invested in it without paying full price, because that will then incentivize us to pay full price. So now we come to the most important part of all. What does Arlo think? What is my take on this? Well, I'd say it's interesting more than anything. I'm just curious to see how it'll turn out. This whole mobile thing is a really big step for Nintendo, and it's always fun to see how they end up making their franchises better suited for mobile play. I'm not incredibly excited or anything, as I can't exactly say I'm super into mobile games. I've enjoyed plenty of them, but I really don't have that much mess around time anymore, and especially if I'm playing a simpler mobile version of a generally non-mobile game series, well, I'd rather just play the real thing. I mean, especially with the Switch. If I really want to play games on the go, I can just take that with me. Plus, I've never been like a humongous Mario Kart freak or anything. The games are fun, and I've been having a blast with 8 Deluxe, but I haven't been hardcore into it, just like playing all the time since 64. So what I'm hoping more than anything is that the game ends up having more of that other stuff I was talking about, managing racers and cars, earning money, leveling up, etc. Those are the kinds of mobile games that end up hooking me. I need some sense of progression. I need that stupid little cha-ching noise when you boot up the game and click your money bubble. If it does indeed end up being a simpler version of Mario Kart where you're driving and steering and racing, or even if it's something like an obstacle course with levels to beat, if it's mostly about the action, I'm gonna play the free bits, then get bored and delete it. I don't know. I'm just not into fast-paced games on my phone. I like relaxing stuff I can casually click around on with one finger, and that pulls me into a horrible feedback loop where I'm tricked into believing I'm having fun, but I'm really just wasting my life away. That's the kind of Mario Kart Tour I want. Like I said though, I'm not counting on it, and the vast majority of people will love it if it's just racy and action-y, so there you go. It's not exactly reasonable for me to insist that Nintendo takes a racing game and makes it not a racing game just to suit my own tastes. However, in addition to being reasonably priced, there is one thing I'm really hoping for and that I think would be the smartest decision. Mario Kart Tour does need to be different from regular Mario Kart in some way. A version of Mario Kart that's just less so that people can play it on their phones it's kind of fine. It can still make plenty of money from folks who don't ever plan on having a true Mario Kart on a Nintendo console, but the problem is that Mario Kart fans themselves probably won't be too interested. Again, the Switch is an issue here. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp and Fire Emblem Heroes and Super Mario Run get something of a pass because Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem and 2D Mario are not yet represented on the Switch. There are the old games, sure, but those aren't on our current amazing handheld home console hybrids that we're currently spending all our time on. But there's already a Mario Kart on the Switch, a really good one with wacko gravity tracks and awesome graphics and local multiplayer and great online functionality. Mario Kart Tour is gonna need to be different in order to stop me from just putting down my phone and picking up my Switch. Even if I find myself somewhere with my phone but without my Switch and I got a real hankering to get my card on, if the game is too simple and mindless, I'm just gonna wait till I get home to play. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see. When you think about it, this will be the first mobile-adapted Nintendo franchise with a strong home console presence. Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, and 2D Mario have all had both handheld and home console versions, but they've never really benefited a lot from being on home consoles. The gameplay is very well suited for handheld play. Mario Kart has had some handheld versions, but it shines brightest when it's working with powerful hardware. Out of all these franchises, it benefits the most from free movement in a 3D space. It's the most action-heavy. It's got the biggest emphasis on visual spectacle. So really, who knows how Nintendo will see fit to translate the experience to mobile devices? They could easily go at this from some weird angle that makes it way different from their other mobile endeavors. Whatever they end up doing though, I just hope they don't take too long. They said it was coming in the next fiscal year, which could mean as early as this April or as late as next March. This is a mobile game, the kind of thing you reveal then release a few weeks later, or even that day. If they end up needing a year to finish it, I'm seriously gonna wonder why they felt the need to reveal it when they did. And especially in an investor call instead of with a fun little direct or something like they did with Pocket Camp. Kinda weird. But anyway, what do you think about Mario Kart Tour? What kind of game do you want it to be? You know what I think? I think when it comes out, I'll be playing it on this here smartphone. Yep, I've got a smartphone. You know, no big deal. Everyone has a smartphone. Who doesn't have a smartphone? Just a guy right over here with a smartphone, just hanging out. I just got this. I had a flip phone until like 3 days ago. Please don't laugh at me.